Welcome to Memoria Gaming's grass-type only run of Pokemon Crystal. My name is Shadowmere, and these are the rules for this run. Only grass-type Pokemon may be used in battle, no items may be used in battle besides Pokeballs, and we must be within one level of the gym leader's highest level Pokemon as a level cap. Also, just for fun, we'll be allowing event Pokemon from the early 2000s in this run, just to add a little bit of spice to the challenge. We have a very limited amount of Pokemon that we can use in this game, with only 11 total encounters to choose from, including Celebi, which we will be using in the next video. And you may be wondering, how in the heck are we going to be able to use Venusaur? The Bulbasaur line isn't available without trading in the Johto games, but there was a very special event Bulbasaur that released in 2001 at the New York City Pokemon Center that knew Ancient Power, which will be integral to the success of this run, helping us to defeat several key gym leaders. Now with all that out of the way, let's get started. Now we will start in New Barktown where we will get a Chikorita. Now, I'm horrible at nicknaming Pokemon, so I was allowing our Twitch followers to help me with names, just to keep it a little bit more fun for everyone that was watching. We decided later to name this guy Titanium. He really was the tank of our party, so the name was very fitting. I'm also really glad that we ended up getting a male Chikorita, as male Pokemon in the Generation 2 games have better stats overall than their female counterparts. So we started to make our way to Cherry Grove City. Our first battle that we had was with a Pidgey, and let me tell you, this was definitely a show of things to come, because we run into more Pidgeys looking for our Bellsprout later on than I even want to care to talk about. This fight's pretty standard. We just kind of throw our bodies at each other. Chikorita does get a lucky critical hit, and then after this we knock the Pidgey out. We go ahead, we pick up the potion, and next we're going to pick up the berry. These are going to be crucial items for us later on. We are definitely going to need, especially the berry, to help us out against a future gym leader. After arriving in Cherry Grove City, we did get the map card from the old man, and then we went straight to Mr. Pokemon's house. We picked up 2 berries, an antidote, and a paralyzed cure berry on the way there. And then the legend himself, Professor Oak, just shows up and decides, man, that 10-year-old looks really reliable. Let me give you a high-tech encyclopedia and send you out into the wild to find mystical creatures that could possibly kill you. After this, Mr. Pokemon decides to give our Chikorita a nice long rest for all of its hard work. As soon as we leave, though, Professor Elm calls with some horrible news. Some pyromaniac has stolen a fire-type Pokemon. And we only have grass types? This will be a really bad situation in the future, won't it? We meet the thief on our way out of Cherry Grove, and a battle ensues. Thankfully, his Cyndaquil doesn't know any fire-type moves right now. So after tackling this thing a ton of times, we're able to defeat it. So we beat this kid and he tells us his name, but he was kind of mumbling and we didn't quite catch what he said. And he runs off. So we start to head back to New Barktown. So we get back to the lab, and the police are asking us about this kid that we met that just happened to have the Pokemon that was stolen. And we're like, I have no idea, guy, and we put 3 question marks down on a piece of paper he has us fill out, and he tells us it's great information, which we all know was a lie. And the guy scampers off. We give the mystery egg to Professor Elm, and get the Pokeballs from his aide, and with that, we can start catching Pokemon. And just like that, we're on our way. So I've decided to go ahead and add Bulbasaur into the game now, but only at level 1 so that it gives us a little bit of training to do. Bulbasaur came with the standard moves of Tackle and Growl, but also the ancient power move I mentioned earlier. This single move will be how we get past Faulkner, and Bugsy, and several of the rival fights until we get some better moves. So we start to head towards Violet City and, oh look, a Pidgey. I told you we'd be running into a bunch of these, you guys. Right after this Pidgey fight though, we are going to find our next encounter, a Hoppip. Now, with that pest clearly out of the way, we are going to have to do some switch training on Bulbasaur, but we do luckily find our first encounter, Hoppip. Hoppip's going to start at level 4, and when we catch it, we go ahead and we name him Pixie. We use Bulbasaur to catch him just to give him a little bit, something to do, some screen time, not that he's not going to be the center of attention for most of this. But this Hoppip has got some real swag. Look at him splashing around, taunting Bulbasaur. After we catch him, Bulbasaur is going to have the move Splash to taunt us like he is right now. but he's also going to be able to lower defense with Tail Whip and keep itself healthy with Synthesis, which is going to be a real big deal when we can't use items in battle. Being able to heal ourselves is going to be one of the best things that grass type Pokemon are able to do that other types really are not, along with the powder moves: Poison Powder, Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, and eventually Spore. Those moves by themselves are what makes the grass type Pokemon so great to use and such a defensive behemoth when it comes to taking on other types. After we catch this Hoppip, we go ahead and we actually gave a Pokemon a nickname, Pixie. Pixie is going to be the biggest team player for our party for quite some time. So now with two Pokemon to switch train, Bulbasaur and Hoppip, youngster Joey decided he wanted to battle with his Rattata. For right now, we're still going to be working on Bulbasaur, so we switch out for Chikorita and let him take the rat down. So in this fight, it's just us tackling each other back and forth. There's not really anything else we can do. But it does get a little hairy. Chikorita comes all the way down to 10 HP. But not a very hard fight. We definitely have this one in the bag. Now with Joey and his amazing Rattata defeated, we went ahead and went through the rest of the trainers on this route and eventually made our way to Route 31, where we were going to pick up a potion, a bitter berry, and a free Pokeball. So before we went into Violet City, it was time to find our next encounter, which would be Bellsprout. It took us about 15 minutes of almost nothing but Pidgey. And with a level cap of only level 9 coming up, I knew we couldn't keep training Bulbasaur, Chikorita, and Hoppip, as eventually we would hit that level cap and we would have to start the run over. So we had to find one here pretty soon. While leveling up, Bulbasaur does go ahead and learn Leech Seed. This move with Ancient Power is going to save us more times in this run than I care to count. But we are going to go ahead, go inside, heal up everyone, and continue the training. About 20 Pidgeys later, we might finally find a Bellsprout. But it turns out that there was something going on with my game file, and it was forcing nothing but Pidgey encounters for some reason. So eventually we ended up restarting the game to force ourselves to get different encounters. But for right now, we haven't quite figured out what's going on, so we went ahead and fought Bugcatcher Wade, because I know he'll want to give us berries here pretty soon. So, while we were waiting to find a Bellsprout, let me tell you about today's sponsor. It's me. I mean, we just started this YouTube channel and you thought this would be anything but a shameless plug? Come on now. So today's sponsor is Memoria Gaming. You see, we don't just play video games on Twitch and then make YouTube content after that. We're also a handheld gaming modding service on Etsy, and we have been modifying Nintendo 3DS systems and PlayStation Vitas for about 2 years now. Our service includes an expansion of the memory on your system, adding homebrew games to it, and applications to help you connect your handhelds to your computer to transfer your backup game files onto your console. We also include custom themes to deck it out with as much style and personality as the acid jazz that is playing right now in the background. So please, contact us with the link in the description and we can help you out, especially anyone with a 3DS looking to play any games or get DLC that they can no longer get on the eShop. Please, go read our reviews and see for yourself what you're missing out on by not contacting Memoria Gaming at Etsy. And with that being said, let's get back to Pokemon Crystal. So we went to Ruins of Alph, used the escape rope to open the hidden room just to grab some extra goodies in case we need them. But we have still not found a Bellsprout. Alfred Hitchcock, you can eat your heart out, because as you're getting ready to see, we have still found nothing but Pidgey. Literally, video games version of the birds. We could not get away from them at all. At one point, we had reset the game because we were trying to get something besides Pidgey to show up, so we ended up having to refight Bugcatcher Wade just to make sure we could get any berries. And then the unthinkable happens. We found a Weedle. And I have never been so happy to find a Weedle in my entire 20-something years of playing Pokemon. And then right after that, voila. A Bellsprout. We catch him after whittling him down with Chikorita. And then we do what's pretty normal for me. And we don't give him a nickname. Yeah, I'm a big dum-dum. Every time that I catch Pokemon, I start to mash that B button, trying to get out of any of these screens, and we completely forgot to give him a nickname. We will give him a nickname later on, though, and he's going to be known as James. And he will be known as James because James of Team Rocket had a victory bell in the early seasons of the Pokemon anime. And that thing loved James so much that every time it would come out of its Pokeball, instead of attacking Ash and Co., it would just attack James, or give it kisses, or however it is you decide you want to say that, which might be why the Pokemon Company decided to make a special Bellsprout for these games that has Lovely Kiss. Who knows, maybe that's why they did that. But either way, we're going to take the team into Dark Cave and stumble around for a little bit until one of the rocks comes alive and turns out to be a big Geodude. We're still trying to switch train Pixie a little bit because he's not going to learn an attacking move for quite some time. But the biggest thing we're trying to do is get Bellsprout up to speed with Chikorita and Bulbasaur so that they're not the only ones at a higher level. So we finally decide to take on Violet City Gym. And the first trainer that we have to take on is the one who ended my first two Grass Hardcore Nuzlocke runs of this game, Birdcatcher Abe. Birdkeeper Abe has a Spearow that is at exactly the level cap for this gym, which is level 9, and is stupid hard to get past with anything that is even barely underleveled that is a bug and or grass type. With Peck, he makes this fight incredibly hard, and as you can see, even Bulbasaur had a hard time defeating him. We did get the Omni boost from Ancient Power right here, which was the second time and the last time we got it. But without that Omni boost, there's a very high chance that if we had been crit, Bulbasaur may have lost right here, and would have made us reset and start this gym over again. Now the next trainer we're not even going to mention. He has 2 Pidgey, and as I've mentioned before, we have been killing Pidgey left and right, so he's not even worth mentioning. But finally, It's time to fight Faulkner. So, this is the big one. Faulkner is going to lead with a Pidgey. His Pidgey's going to know the move Mud Slap, which has 100% accuracy, and also lowers our accuracy when and if it's used. But because of Faulkner's AI, he knows that Mud Slap's not going to be very effective, especially on Pixie, who's a flying type Pokemon and is not affected by it. So it's never going to use Mud Slap. The only move that he will use is Tackle, which is perfect for us. While this Pidgey's relatively easy to take down, we were trying to be as careful as possible and take Faulkner down with no casualties if possible. So we're going to lead with Pixie, and we are going to Tail Whip this thing until its defense is as low as it can possibly go, and then we will switch in Bulbasaur to take it down. Now Bulbasaur is already at level 9, which is the level cap. But while he's in battle, he is allowed to level up, as long as he's the same level while he's in battle. So after we switch in Bulbasaur, one Ancient Power is going to do the trick, and then in comes his big threat, Pidgeotto. Now, I got a little bit cocky here, I'm not going to lie. I was thinking with Ancient Power, this Bulbasaur was going to be absolutely indestructible and that would be the end of the run. I did get a little smart though, and we start off this fight with a quick Leech Seed just to be sure that I can survive anything that comes my way. And that's when Pidgeotto struck us with Gust, and I knew this was not going to happen. Not Deathless. Our Berry does heal us up, but it's not enough, and with Pidgeotto outspeeding, we are quickly taken down by Gust. And I started to have a mild panic attack. How are we going to make it past this Pokemon now? So I tried using Pixie here, thinking I can outspeed and use a quick Tail Whip and maybe help Chikorita out. But we were outsped by the Pidgeotto and taken out by Gust. I know Bellsprout can't outspeed or do anything here, so we decided to go into Chikorita. I tried for Tackle, and then Gust is just doing way more damage than I'm expecting. I'm thinking this is the end, but that Leech Seed is really helping us out here. So I decided the smartest thing I can do, because all of Pidgeotto's moves are physical, is to go ahead and start using Growl, lower its attack stat as much as I can, and let Leech Seed keep me alive for right now. And this turns into a war of attrition. Pidgeotto using Gust, getting its energy sapped by Leech Seed, and me using Growl to just make sure that its attacks are doing as minuscule an amount of damage as it possibly can. As you can see, this battle got really touchy here at the end. All the way down to 2 HP, Chikorita just survived because of Leech Seed. We got that final tackle in at the end, we leveled up to level 10, and we finally defeated Faulkner with just Grass-type Pokemon. Now the stall war is over, and we've come out victorious. We've earned the Zypher badge and the Mud Slap TM, which will be very useful later on, and we end up using that quite a bit throughout this run. Our new level cap is 16, so it's time to get some training in. first thing we did was head to Sprout Tower. After defeating all the trainers here, including the Master Sage and his level 10 Hoot Hoot, we go ahead and we use the escape rope to get out of here and head towards Union Cave. On our way to Union Cave, we stop by this gentleman here who gives us the Miracle Seed. This item would have been amazing before Faulkner, as it gives all of our grass type moves a 10% boost on any Pokemon that is holding it. And for right now, we go ahead and give it to James. On the way, we defeat all the trainers in between Violet City and Union Cave, especially the fishers on the dock. I'm not going to show any of these battles, they were very trivial, not really worth showing off. Union Cave was an amazing little place to do some quick training, and we defeated all the trainers there as well. We even picked up the TM for Swift. Once we reached Azalea Town, we didn't take any time for anything else. We went straight to Ilex Forest, where we can find our next encounter. That next encounter being a Paris. Now, you would think that Paris wouldn't be a great Pokemon for this run. It has a 4x weakness to fire, it has a 4x weakness to flying. At one point in Generation 1, it even had a 4x weakness to poison and was the only Pokemon, along with its evolution Parasect, to have 3 4x weaknesses. But Bug typing is actually going to be a really good typing to have to take down Psychic type Pokemon later on. Paris also has a lot of bulk that people don't realize, so if you're not one of those types that's 4x weak to, it can actually hold its own fairly well. It's also the only Pokemon in these games to get the amazing 100% accurate Spore that 100% of the time will put Pokemon to sleep as long as it hasn't been hit with like Sand Attack or something silly like that. The next closest that we have would be Sleep Powder at 75% accurate, or Hypnosis, which is only 60% accurate. So Spore really is a great move to have, which makes Paris an amazing Pokemon to have on our party. After picking up our new friend, we're headed to the Slowpoke Well. It seems like Team Rocket is there and they're slicing off the tails of Slowpoke to sell for a profit? Are we sure this game's for 10-year-olds? I know they grow their tails back, but wow. Anywho, we had a hard time defeating all the poison Pokemon in this area. The Team Rocket members really are a lot tougher with this typing than you would think, but we eventually end up fighting the leader in the back of the well, who has a level 14 Coffee. Now, this battle with Coughing was kind of tricky. Most of the Pokemon that we have, besides Bulbasaur and Bellsprout, are actually weak to Smog, which is Coughing's main way of doing damage. And as we're still switch training Paris at this point, when we switch Bulbasaur in, he ends up getting a critical hit, which did a lot more damage than I was expecting. Thankfully, Bulbasaur has Leech Seed. is going to save the day again as we start to whittle down Coughing's health. And using Ancient Power to do as much damage as we can to the Coughing to go ahead and knock it out, winning us the battle. And with that knockout, Paris goes ahead and levels up. And with that level up, it's going to go ahead and learn Stun Spore. We can now head back to Azalea Town where we can talk to Kurt, who will give us a Lure Ball. It's not very helpful, but at least it counts as a regular Pokeball for us to use. And our next big battle is going to be Bugsy. But I know we're not ready for him at all. And the next battle besides that is the rival, who now has an evolved Quilava, and it'll be way too much for us to handle as we don't have any Pokemon who have evolved, and its Ember could easily end our entire team. Knowing that we are too underleveled to take down Bugsy or the rival, we've come back to Union Cave to train up on the Geodude and the Onix that live here. While we're here, we end up getting our first evolutions. Titanium finally evolves into a Bayleaf. And while training Bulbasaur, he will go ahead and evolve into an Ivysaur. We also went ahead and made sure that the entire group, except for Paris and Hoppip, were near the level cap as we still have quite a few gym trainers inside the gym to take down before we get to Bugsy. So at this point in the run, I still was not 100% sure if we would be using Paris for the rest of the run, but I figured we can at least level him up on gym trainers here. First up are going to be the twins, Amy and May. And they start off with a Spinarak. First thing Paris can do to combat the little creepy crawly is paralyze it, basically making the spider unuseful for the twins. From there, we'll go to town, scratching it to death because we get a few fully paralyzed moments that give us the free moments Paris needs to dodge super effective poison stings and get the win. After defeating Spinnerack, Paris is going to hit level 8. Next up is Ladybah, and Ladybah is going to hit us immediately with a 55% accurate Supersonic. Because when the enemy uses it, Supersonic is almost 100% accurate, but when I use it, it's actually 55. We do manage to break through the confusion, landing another Stun Spore. Ladybah keeps trying to hit Supersonic for some reason, but with 55% accurate and us already being confused, it's not easy, but I guess if you try hard enough, you will eventually land another one. Paris then hits itself in confusion, bringing it down to 6 HP. After that confusion hit, we decided to go ahead and switch back into Pixie, landing a tackle that had just newly learned, bringing down the Ladybah and ending the battle. So we do go through the gym and take out the rest of the gym trainers here. We had to leave several times to heal up. We did come back though many times, beat all the trainers, just to make sure we were getting as much experience points as possible, to make sure that all of our party members were getting the levels they needed. Our next level cap is going to be 20, so getting these now is going to be crucial to making sure we can take down Whitney in the next video. I was a little bit worried about this battle, but up next is Bugsy. Now, Bugsy can easily eviscerate our team with Scyther if he starts getting Fury Cutter to rack up damage, as Fury Cutter does more damage every turn that it hits in a row. But let's see how this goes. So starting up, we're going to send out Little Paris against the Metapod. And this was seriously a war of attrition. We go ahead and get the Stun Spore on, and then we start to scratch it as much as we can. Metapod's already set up a Harden though, so our scratch damage is going to be next to nothing. Meanwhile, Metapod's actually doing decent damage because he has a level advantage. Why this thing was never evolved into a Butterfree, or why didn't Bugsy have like a Scizor or a Heracross or maybe a Pinsir even. Anything besides Metapod and Kakuna, I will never understand. But, as you can see here, it's still doing good damage, and it's hard enough that our little Paris is having a hard time against it. After realizing that Paris isn't going to be able to get the job done, we switch in Pixie. Now, I did something really stupid here, and you're watching it on screen. I was under the impression that I had completely forgotten to paralyze the Metapod while I was talking to my Twitch stream chat, and kept spamming Poison Powder, because that was the plan with Pixie, is to Poison Powder, use Tail Whip, Synthesis, and Tackle until things were dead. And I forgot that the Pokemon was already paralyzed, so we can't really put a double status on it. Eventually though, chat finally decided to tell me that I was being dumb. Let me know that the Pokemon was already paralyzed, and I went ahead and started tackling it with Pixie, and we were able to win against the Metapod with a last minute critical hit that totally mattered. Next Pokemon Bugsy's going to send out is Kakuna. Now I know I was just talking about how he should not have a Kakuna, or a Metapod for that matter, but honestly, this Kakuna kind of gave us a hard time with only Grass-type Pokemon. Hoppip is weak to Poison Sting, as you can see here, and we did end up getting poisoned. And there's no point in using Tail Whip because it has Harden and will just fix the status drop that I do on it. So we go ahead and we're going to switch into Bellsprout. That is not super effective. You'll notice that Ivysaur is already at level 17. That happened by accident, but we're still within the level cap range of 1 level, so it's fine. I'm just trying to use Bellsprout as much as I can so Ivysaur doesn't over level before the Whitney fight. So we go ahead, we put the Kakuna to sleep, we use Wrap, and from here I'm going to start setting up growth. I really want to see what kind of damage Bellsprout can do against the Scyther, just in case we can't use Ivysaur. Now this fight takes forever, as anything with a Kakuna and using normal type moves does, but in between Wrap, putting it to sleep, using growth, we do eventually take the Kakuna down. It's just going to take a few minutes. Finally, with only 1 HP left over, finally doing the trick. Bellsprout is able to take down this strong Kakuna with minimal damage, but out next comes the big one. Now this thing is a big threat. Like I said earlier, this cutter is continuing to take hits. It will do some pretty good damage.
we didn't right into it with 3 games to start off, that's pretty darn good for this game. As you can see, it very quickly starts to wrap up. We actually end up using this move against Jasmine in the next video, and trust me when I say, he eviscerated her. So, since James can't do the damage output I was expecting, we go ahead and send an Ivysaur. It tries to use Leer to lower our defense and make sure Fury Cutter will do the damage it needs, but it's too late. Ancient Power hits, it's 4 times weak to the move, and we take Scyther down. And just like that, we've won ourselves the Hive Badge and the TM for Fury Cutter. So, this was a pretty rough battle, and I know it doesn't look like it, but trust me, I was starting to sweat there at the end. It took an incredibly long time, considering bug types are one of the weakest in the game. So I need to start teaching some TMs, and fast. So, someone would need to learn Cut here pretty soon, and we needed to use some of these moves. So we teach Fury Cutter to Paris. This move, like I said, is going to be integral to taking down Jasmine later on. And we also teach Mud Slap. Unfortunately, no one can learn Swift. Maybe Execute could, but we never do end up using Swift. But Mud Slap, we teach to Bayleaf. And when I say that this move gets used throughout the majority of the game, I mean this move was amazing. Even past the league. Now, I'm sure you're probably looking at the bar on YouTube and going, man, there's not a whole lot left of this video, is there? And that's because this is the finale. This is the rival. Probably the hardest fight that he has in Johto, as Quilava will spam Ember and completely end your team if you have nothing but bugs and grass-type Pokemon. Thankfully, Bayleaf was able to make it through his lead Ghastly thanks to our newly learned Mud Slap. It's about a 3-shot against the Ghost, but with it being part Poison type, Mud Slap is perfect for taking this Pokemon down and sending it right back to where it came from. He does use Spite to try and lower the amount of Mud Slaps that we have, which is kind of a pain against Quilava later on, but we do make it thanks to a critical hit. Next up is going to be Zubat, and that's an easy switch into Ivysaur with Ancient Power. Or so you would think. On turn 1, he lands a Supersonic, which automatically makes this a much dicier fight, because you never know if your move's actually going to land when you need it to. After Ancient Power, he survives with just 1 HP, but thankfully we were able to break through Confusion and knock it out with a Vine Whip, finishing it off. Up next is going to be his final Pokemon, Quilava. This is the big one that I'm really worried about. We do stay in because this is the main reason that I have Ancient Power on Ivysaur. I got a little bit cocky though, thinking that Ivysaur would be able to tank an Ember, and we missed Sleep Powder. This is such a big deal. Sleep Powder missing basically made this battle impossible. We did finally land it, but Ancient Power is unfortunately doing just under half damage. And we're not going to get the 2-hit. And then the unthinkable happens. he wakes up and knocks us out with Ember. This was our third try against this fight, as he had defeated us 2 other times because of this Quilava doing nothing but Ember and not being able to get put to sleep. We tried Bellsprout to put it to sleep as well, but we don't have anything to outspeed Quilava. It's just way too fast. So while we are able to put it to sleep, there's no way Bellsprout's going to be able to use Wrap Shenanigans to knock it out. So we do switch into Titanium, our Bayleaf, who thankfully is able to go ahead and knock it out with Mudslap. It does use Smokescreen, and that made things a little bit hairy as well, because I wasn't sure if we would hit all of our moves the way we needed to, and that would give it the opening it needed to start sweeping our team again with Ember. I tried a Razor Leaf here, hoping for a critical hit, which may have helped us out, but unfortunately I'm not that lucky. So back to Mudslap we go. Bayleaf is so tanky, it is able to take some hits. It is trying to do some dumb stuff with Smokescreen, but thankfully we get the knockout after one more Mudslap. With that being said, I knew exactly what I needed to do, and it was time to put this rival in his place. We can't train anymore to level 20 because we have a ton of trainers, so training against him was not going to work when we were already in the high teens. So I reset the game and decided, like I said, it's time to put the rival in his place. This time, it was going to be me who destroyed his team. Bayleaf slapped the ghost straight back into the afterlife, even though we got paralyzed on turn 1 by Lick. Bayleaf just shrugs it off like it's absolutely nothing and KOs the Ghastly. Next up, Zubat. And we went ahead and set up a Reflect just to make sure that any physical moves, Quick Attack, Leech Life, Wing Attack, anything that he may have was not going to be able to do any real damage against the rest of our party members. And thankfully this time, no Supersonic Shenanigans. We go ahead and we switch Ivysaur back into this Zubat. And after a quick Ancient Power and a Vine Whip, the bat is no more. And now out comes Quilava again. Now, because of the Reflect that we set up with Titanium, his AI thinks it needs to put our defense stat down, so it goes for Leer, and thankfully that's all we needed to get a Sleep Powder up and running. Ivysaur tells the Fire Badger Night Night, and puts it down with 2 quick Ancient Powers. Take that, you nobody with daddy issues. And that is the end of episode 1. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Part 2 will be out as soon as I'm able to, as I'm the one who's not only making the videos, but also doing the editing, and adding the music, and doing the voiceover work. I'm having a ton of fun doing this, but it does take a lot of time. My hat is definitely off to any YouTubers that have been doing this for a while. I'm looking at J-Rose, Sylph Spectre, Squidgy, Scott Thoughts, any of those YouTubers who have been doing this for years. You've really been a really big inspiration for me to start making these videos. We are on Twitch. I'm still trying to make a schedule right now. We don't just play Pokemon though. I'm still trying to figure out the full schedule, like I said, but we've been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, we've been playing Cult of the Lamb, we've been playing The Forest with a really good friend of mine. When Zelda Tears of the Kingdom comes out, we'll be playing that as well and streaming it every night until we're finished with absolutely everything the new Sky Islands and Hyrule has to offer. Please don't forget to like and subscribe the video, as I'm new and it would really help us out. And until then, we will see you in the next video. I hope you have a great rest of your day.